This is David Wakes Up. So, this is the third and last of the trilogy of David stories. David wakes up. I wake up just as my spaceship is landing on the planet Eden, and all I can think is, I want to die. It would be easier if I were still in Seattle on the planet Earth where every day is cloudy and grim, and everything smells like phosphorus. But instead, I look out the window and all I can see is the most beautiful and perfect garden, stretching endlessly in every direction. I hate it. I want to go back to sleep. I want to disappear. But my boss pops up on my video telephone and tells me how lucky I am to be able to travel the universe and record its beauty. She reminds me how easy my life is, and I agree with her, and so I get ready to walk outside. My name is David, by the way. I am 42 years old and have spent my entire life traveling the cosmos. I have seen stars die and traveled between dimensions. I have invented artificial life forms and saved bacterial civilizations from extinction. And I want to die. Although I can rationally see that my life is not all that bad, it is pretty amazing, actually, but it all feels pointless. It all feels like it is happening a million miles away, to somebody else. There was a time when I thought if I just accomplished enough, this feeling would go away, but it never did. I just became a slightly older and more successful depressed person. There are a lot of books written about me. They say I'm a great explorer and that I have a great family and that I live a life of adventure. If they only knew the truth, that I explore only out of boredom and habit, that my family, who lives in Seattle, is insane, and most of my life is spent hiding from the world. The huge gulf between how others see me and what I feel is immeasurable. Many simply cannot believe I am depressed when I invented a fuel cell that can power an electric hover bike for 45 years, or that I was the one that brought democracy to the Beetlejuice systems. I want to hide under my covers and watch my VR television. Not really watching, actually, but just existing, trying to forget how painful even breathing is in this existence. But I know my boss would have none of that, and so I try to wish myself out of existence. In the past, this has helped me to find black holes or hidden dimensions, but it never seems to work when I need it, like when I'm trying to erase my own life. A voice in my head starts nagging me, reminding me that I need to be productive. I may not need to pay bills, but the guilt of being lazy and unproductive has always been a motivator for me. The nagging voice in my head wins out and pushes my achy, numb body out of the spaceship and into the day. How did it get this bad? How did I go from an idealistic kid who traveled the cosmos and surfed on supernovas into a jaded old middle-aged man who cannot even find hope in paradise? It was not that I was happy when I was younger, but I had hope. I thought if I just saved enough people, if I just discovered the perfect planet, if I just created enough cool things like anti-gravity boots and dehydrated instant water, that I would be happy, or at least I would find some peace. Now, I just count the seconds until my expiration date. Although now that I have seen the edges of the universe, I'm starting to think life never ends. It just changes shape, flips backwards, and continues on eternally. I have an easy life. I spend my time inventing and traveling and recording the universe and watching old TV shows like those from 1990s Earth. I have every piece of entertainment, every known nerve blocker if I happen to experience pain, and every known recipe that can be instantly produced via my patented digital food printer. So, once again, my life is not painful. It is just empty and meaningless. Even the most amazing sunsets, the most spectacular gas giants, the most musically fantastic and perfect symphonies or even the kindest gestures from people just remind me of how empty I am inside. I was 10 years old and traveling alone outside of a black hole when I first tried to put myself inside of my matter manipulator and end my corporeal reality. My parents, David O. and David Dina, found out, dragged me home, and made me go to see a psychiatrist when they found out I had tried to disassemble myself. My parents quickly gave up on the psychiatrist because he lived on another planet and because going to see him was boring and expensive, they said. My mother tried to distract me by turning on the television very loudly and leaving me alone for long stretches of time. At first I thought it was to cheer me up, but now I realize it was probably to try to drown out my complaining. I left Seattle not too long after my 10th birthday, with the plan of escaping my terrible family and that awful rainy Seattle, thinking that things would be so much better once I escaped. Of course, they were not. It took me a few years to figure out why I got dizzy when I got upset, why I sometimes saw swirling colors and heard detached voices when I got anxious. I thought it had to do with all the work I was doing, trying to find new dimensions. It turned out I was just dissociating and having panic attacks. I took a break and went to a resort planet where all the food was smoothies and all they teach you is meditation and healing. I saw a psychiatrist and he prescribed me a mood implant that artificially corrected my moods. But as perfect as I felt, it never felt right. The meditation helped, but it felt like I was running away and I got tired of being on that meditation planet where everyone smiled at everyone and everything was described as being your karma or being about your vibration. I stayed there and left after 2 years. I did like the Hermann Hesse books, but I could lose the rest. As I blasted away in my TD-40 spaceship, I felt certain that for me at least, there was no answer. Okay, back to the now. I sigh as I step out of my spaceship on the planet Eden. I remind myself to breathe as I walk among the huge and beautiful plants and curious animals. I feel a panic attack starting. Just breathe, I remind myself. I look at the landscape. It is lush and beautiful and perfect. I continue to breathe, but then something starts to feel wrong. Is someone watching me? I start to worry and I hear voices whispering and laughing somewhere. So I close my eyes and try to remind myself that I'm totally safe, totally fine. I just keep reminding myself that everything will be okay. I will be okay. I take a few steps and the ferns of the planet remind me of Seattle and suddenly I feel like I am in Seattle and this planet is a video game. It just does not feel real, like everything is 20 feet away, even though I know it is right here. The memories in my head overwhelm me and I can hear my mother complaining about me. And suddenly she is right next to me. I breathe, try to calm down by slowly looking around and noticing the smells and colors right around me. I press a button on the side of my neck to have my mental implant ease my anxiety. I sigh as the relief comes. A mixture of pleasant feelings and dopiness fuels me now. I meet the caretaker of Eden, a small bird-like person named Exogen. I nod and play along as they describe the situation, even though in my head I am 100 miles away. You may think I hate my job since I hate life, but when I am in the moment and producing reports or being productive, I feel okay. I do not feel great, mind you, but for a moment, the dread of existence is not the only thing on my mind. As I go back to my ship to rest, at the end of the day, Exogen smiles and chats with me. It becomes apparent that she is flirting with me and keeps mentioning being lonely and coffee and how attractive I am, and I smile, then pretend I do not notice the flirting and tell her I have to get back to my ship. I talk to a few bugs on my way back to the ship and notice the beauty of nature. It really is quite stunning, and it distracts me. But as beautiful as it is, it reminds me of how lost I am. I finish writing my reports when I get home and quickly reheat some Insta food in the microonda. Then I watch TV. Seinfeld. But I'm not really watching. My thoughts keep turning to me, asking me why I've not killed myself yet, why I always seem to find an excuse, or why I did not respond to Exigan flirting with me. My thoughts turn to the hundreds of animals that were euthanized on my last planet. Some were for understandable reasons, like disease, while others were euthanized because they were simply too expensive or too much trouble. I take up more fuel and energy than them. Why am I still here? My mind drifts with my thoughts, and about 10 p.m., I push the side of my neck again. This time, several times, so that I can get relaxed for sleep. And in an instant, everything turns black. The next day, I walk out of the ship. Exigan is there, greeting the ship of people who had just landed. She smiles and tells me she wishes she knew someone as dependable as me. I smile politely and wish her well, and go to my work before she can make any more small talk or flirtation. I have 100 days more on this planet, and I am pretty sure they will all feel pretty much the same. I get to work and lose myself in the moment. There are only a billion more of these moments left. A reassuring thought.